A bill to revoke the citizenship of terrorists who receive compensation for committing an act of terrorism was approved by an overwhelming majority on Monday in its first reading at the Knesset. The proposal, which was signed by 106 lawmakers from both sides of the political aisle, received 89 votes in favor and just 8 against. According to the bill, if a terrorist receives any financial compensation from the Palestinian Authority for carrying out an attack, the Interior Minister could ask a court to revoke their Israeli citizenship. After serving their sentence in Israeli prison, the terror convict would be deported from Israel to the West Bank or the Gaza Strip. Lawmakers argue that the payments make the PA legally liable for the convict. The PA has for decades paid stipends to Palestinians who have carried out attacks against Israelis. Israel views the policy as a pay-for-slay scheme and has enacted several punitive measures against the Palestinian Authority for it. Joining me now in studio is our defense correspondent, Jonathan Regev. Jonathan, it seems for the first time this Knesset can agree on anything. There's been widespread support for this bill. Why is it only being presented now then?
First, let's understand why this the urgency and why it was again brought up now. What we're speaking about is mostly East Jerusalemites as the two terrorists from the past weekend, the terrorists who killed 7 people in Neve Yaakov on Friday evening, and the other terrorist, 13-year-old terrorist who shot and injured 2 people on Saturday morning. They are from East Jerusalem, meaning they are Israeli residents. They have practically almost every right as every other Israeli citizen, including Social Security, for example. So the family of the terrorist from Neve Yaakov, he was killed. His family can now receive grants from the Israeli Social Security. It sounds crazy, but that's the case. While doing that, they're also being paid by the Palestinian Authority. This is one of the main things that Israel is very critical of, the fact that the Palestinian Authority actually pays terrorists for killing Israelis. So Israel is putting pressure on the Palestinian Authority to try and stop their policy, but that's something that the Palestinian Authority can do. What can Israel do? Basically, take away rights from the families, the families of terrorists or terrorists who stay alive and then they're injured. So they have certain rights as Israeli residents. Taking off those rights is something that is now being put forward. And yes, as you mentioned, if 89 lawmakers in such a divided parliament agree on this thing, then it seems as if this is something that unites almost the entire Israeli society.
I want to ask you, could there be legal repercussions and perhaps even security repercussions if this bill goes through?
There could be legal repercussions, yes, because who is to decide who is a terrorist and who is not a terrorist? What is terrorism? It raises questions, and these things can be put forward, perhaps to the ICC, or even before that. This is eventually this is an inner Israeli matter, because people from East Jerusalem, they're Palestinians, but they are Israeli residents with an Israeli ID, a blue ID. Therefore, what's defined as terrorism? If you are a Palestinian and you shot someone and you were killed, then your family will not be eligible for rights. But if you're a Jewish committing the same crime, then your family will be eligible for those rights. It raises a lot of legal issues. At least I think eventually people will go with it to the Israeli Supreme Court, and yes, this could be legally challenged. Absolutely.
Jonathan, I want to ask you, switching gears now, Anthony Blinken is meeting with Lapid and Gallant in what is assumed to be a security briefing. Do you think that this meeting is going to shed some light to Blinken on the reality of the security situation here on the ground? Because he's calling for calm and peace. But does the American government really understand the situation here on the ground?
I think they do, and I'm not sure Blinken really needs the meeting with Gallant to understand what is going on. He's been in Egypt. He was here meeting the prime minister, the foreign minister, the president. Therefore, he's well aware of what is happening. The meeting with Gallant could perhaps deal with the issues which Israel wants to deal with more, which is Iran. If Israeli authorities were concerned, then the meetings would deal only with Iran. But Blinken, of course, comes from Washington with other ideas. The Biden administration wants to see tensions going down. The Biden administration is speaking time and time again of the two-state solution, something that the current Israeli government is not even close to adopting. Right. Therefore, it's not as if all these meetings, it's not exactly the agenda that the Israeli hosts would like to see. The visitor has his own agenda.
Jonathan, last question. The question on everyone's mind, are we on the brink of wider escalation here?
Very good question, and it is not exactly clear. This is not the first time that there's a rising tension, a rise in escalation in violence, and this is always the question being asked, and the answer is always it could happen. In the West Bank, things are escalating for the past year or so. Ever since mid-March of the past year, there's an Israeli ongoing operation in the West Bank. Ramadan, less than 2 months away. Also, again, colliding with Passover, Western Wall, Temple Mount. So yes, it could definitely happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's hope peace and calm is restored quickly. Jonathan Regev, thank you very much.
Thank you.